the underwear, so we're all right.
Cool. I think the recording might have caught that, so this is going to be gold before I kick the intro.
We don't need to keep that.
That would be a great intro.
Seeping butthole.
If I don't keep the listeners listening, I don't know what will.
My goodness. What conversation we have on a Sunday. Pretty awesome. Anyway, let's kick this thing off here real quick. Hello, folks. We are back. Ken and Scott from Generation Red, joined as always by Justin, Derek, and Tyler from the Husker Cuz Cast. And we're hanging out. We're going to switch things up. A little bit different format, shorter shows. And if you are watching us on a Tuesday evening as this streams to your to YouTube, you have just traveled forward in time because we're actually recording this on Sunday. So unless Doc Brown shows up outside your house with Marty McFly, no, this isn't Back to the Future. You're just watching a pre-recorded show. Anyway, and we're going to record 2 of them. So the next one will be next Tuesday night. So should be fun. We are going to just tackle one topic per show. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 12-team college football playoff. When that kicks off, and we're going to pro-con it. We're going to each take a minute to give our pros and then take a minute to give our cons. And then the last 15, 20 minutes, it will be, I'm guessing, pile-on Tyler time. I don't know. Seems like that's what Justin thinks is going to happen anyway. But it's always good-natured, right? You guys care about each other. You just like to argue. So I'm just here to facilitate it and push the right buttons.
I think we have to.
It's in your DNA, apparently. So anyway, since the last time we streamed, guys, did you have a good holiday?
Wonderful. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Cool.
Scanned, hung out with the family. So it was a great time. But Ken, I do have to ask you something though here.
Yeah.
You had sent a message to us, and you wanted us to fix our camera angles, primarily me and Tyler. I mean, how's my camera angle? I mean, you were tired of looking at my moves in the cameras, and you're tired of seeing the top of Tyler's head. I mean, are we good?
I'm feeling a little left out, like he doesn't even care if he sees me.
Well, your camera angle is always just right, dude. I mean,
yeah, we can barely see you, Derek. It's just right. We can barely see you. Right.
Exactly. You guys have fixed the camera angles. I really appreciate it. But your camera angle is just right, Justin, to where I can still see Generation Red right over your left noob, and I appreciate that.
I was actually going to put pasties over my nipples so you would. Because you were talking about my moves, I was like, "Way,
sharp." It's a cheap shirt, so who knows if they get too firm there, it might cut right through that logo, and we can't be having that. So
can't have that.
We had I know both Scott and I had kind of a crazy holiday. We everybody but Scott and my family went down to Arizona to see my side of the family. It was a skating rink. So we left that Wednesday when that storm moved in. So it took us like 6.5 hours just to get down to Hutchinson, Kansas, when it should have took us 3.5, because 81 was basically a skating rink. And then the next day we had to go about 150 miles further south just to get out of the wind chills so that it wasn't so cold that the truck kept trying to gel up. And I had probably 2 gallons of anti-gel and a gallon of diesel 911 in it. And it was just 40 below, was just miserable. So that was fun. It was a lot of fun down there. And then Scott, of course, he dealt with Armageddon in the form of weather, which cost him a lot in taxes due to all the overtime you worked, right?
Yeah. I ended up working just under 50 hours of overtime. And we had sprinkler systems exploding. We had pipes freezing left and right. We had furnaces going out like flies, and then just all the random stuff like clogged toilets and whatnot just thrown in there. So I can feel really good about those. And yeah, so it was pretty much a very crazy Christmas. It was a tale of two Christmases because last year I had on call on Christmas. Don't know how I got back-to-back years, but whatever, it timed out that way. And last year I had like 3.5 hours of overtime. So I think somehow it just the law of averages just kind of balanced out. It was like, here you go, have 49 hours of overtime. And yeah, it was pretty crazy, but it went by.
I always knew you looked like Mario, but I just wasn't real sure.
Yeah, he runs around with a wrench in his back pocket.
I have a lot of stuff in my pockets. Carry everything.
Well,
yeah, it was. Other
anyway.
than that, my wife and I were able to backlog our Christmas celebrations, and it all worked out.
Good deal.
That's pretty awesome. Well, let's jump into it. Let's have some fun. Talk about the 12-team college football playoff. And it starts in what, 2025? Isn't that when it? Because I think Texas and Oklahoma go to the SEC in 2024. USC and UCLA come to the Big Ten, and then I think the expanded playoff starts in 2025, doesn't it?
I was thinking it was 2024.
2024.
I thought it was 24, yeah.
Yep, 2024.
This will be our last year of 4 teams.
Of 14, yeah. So, do you think they're going to modify the schedule at all? I mean, the regular season schedule, because obviously now the champion and the runner-up plays 15 games in a season. It's going to end up being 16 for some teams if they happen to get all the way through the first round of the playoff and make it to the championship game. Do you think they're going to drop back the regular season to 11 games at all? I mean,
I hope not.
I don't see why. They're getting paid now, so let them play.
Yeah,
They got to prepare.
There you go.
They got to prepare for the NFL. So,
well put.
So, to be fair, they're not getting paid by the universities who are getting all this money, but they are getting money. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they're getting some cash.
Well, to be fair, they're getting free scholarships. It's the same as getting paid. So
yeah,
right.
And the Pareto distribution, like 5 players on any given team are making the majority of the money, and then everybody else just kind of gets little.
Yeah, but they're college kids, and they're spending that all on partying anyway.
They are investing in their 401ks, good sir.
Unless you're Walter Rouse and God told you to go to Oklahoma instead of Nebraska, so I'm sure he's spending it all on Bibles.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get to it. Let's talk about our pros. We took some time, folks, and just all of us came up with a pro to talk about the 12-team playoff, and we're going to each take a minute to do that. And so look down there where as you guys talk about your pros, you will see my camera turn into a timer. So that gives you an idea of how long you have yet. And if you don't use up your whole minute, don't worry. I'm not going to dock you any points because nobody's earning any points tonight. So there you go. Anyway, we're going to kick it off with Justin. What is your whoops. There it is. Whoopsie. Go ahead, Justin, and talk about your pro.
So let's be clear. This was not my number one of pros for expanding the playoff to 12 teams. The way this worked is it was kind of first come, first serve. Everybody grabbed it, and this is what I came up with, group of 5 representation. But I do feel that this is very important. I'm one of those people that, and I haven't always been this way, but in recent years, I just think it's silly that we have FBS football that does not include all of the conferences. So now that we're expanding to 12, I think it's outstanding that the group of 5 is going to get an automatic representation into the playoff. We know that they can compete. We saw Tulane this year. Tulane knocked off USC in the Cotton Bowl, 46-45. There's other teams, that could have done well in a playoff. Just because they make a playoff doesn't mean that they can win it all, but they deserve to be there. Cincinnati, they made the 14 playoff last year. Other teams that could have done okay or been interesting in the playoff. UCF, Houston had a year. These teams, they deserve representation. And if it was really up to me, I would give every conference champion.
You're all right.
Automatic bid.
I got you. I got you.
You should get dock points for going over your time.
Hey, I try to shut up. That's hard for me to do.
Cut it off.
He's docked one bathroom break. You can't go to the bathroom in the middle of this, so got to squeeze it, son. Got to squeeze it.
I just wish this was around the horn, and whenever Justin was talking, you had Tony Riella just going negative the whole time. Like, this is so stupid. Why is he saying this? This is such a terrible take. Ding, 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 ding.
Yep. So, next up, we have got Derek. Go ahead, bud.
All right, I'm going to keep this fairly short and sweet, but look, these conference championship games have been a joke for the last few years. The loser still gets in the playoff. And look, losers are still going to get in playoffs possibly, but at least now they'll be docked. They're not going to get in that top 4 seeds. They're going to have to go they might possibly have to go on the road somewhere and have to play a game. They're definitely not going to be in it for a bye. So I think it means so much for the conference championship games. It actually lets them mean something again, because the last couple of years doesn't feel like they've meant shit.
Alrighty.
Fair enough.
Alrighty. That's a good argument. I appreciate that. You just made up for the extra 20, 30 seconds that Justin rambled on. So
I had to set the ground rules for anyway.
Excuses are like Justin's butthole.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
And by the way, you can't dock him a bathroom break because he'll be shitting on the screen again.
Oh, I wish I would have uploaded that video. That would have been a perfect spot to, as they say, insert it. Go ahead, Tyler. You're up next, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're guaranteed some really fun football. I think as the season wraps up, I mean, I think the one thing that would be for sure is you're going to get some fun football at the end of the season. I mean, today college football doesn't have a bowl system or anything like that also has fun football. So it'd be nice that there actually is going to be fun football. Wait, they have that. But no, I mean, the playoffs should give us some fun football at the end of the season, and we'll get a chance to enjoy it. And it'll be like every other sport where the only thing that matters is the postseason, and it'll be great. So pretty excited for that. College football will be like every other sport. So
basically what you're saying is college football's finally catching up to every other sport out there.
Yep, it's changing. So
no doubt about it.
So cool.
No doubt
I'm excited for that. NFL 2.0.
Yeah, that is what it is. It's kind of turning to. All right, Scott, my boy. What you say?
All right, so what I've got written down is the potential for a Cinderella story, quote unquote Cinderella. It doesn't necessarily have to mean a group of 5 representation going all the way and winning the big one. I just mean like somebody out in left field that you don't expect. Like I'm looking at the final top 25, AP top 25, and like what if Washington just somehow found a way to just go all the way and win it all? You would be like, Washington, like how did they get here? And I just think there's always a possibility that you can catch one of those top dogs sleeping, because I mean they get their bye week and then they get thrown into some slobber knocker with some team that they may have not been preparing for as much as they should have. I don't know if the Georgia of this year would ever have had that happen, but it's always a potential.
Alrighty. Excellent points made. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Here's what and of course, because I made the outline, I get to be the first one to pick. So, but I'm not going to do that next time we set up a couple of topics. I'll go ahead and make the outline, and you guys will have first dibs on coming up with pros and cons. Sound like a deal? And then I'll be the one sucking hind moob, like the one that's got the Generation Red logo on it there. So, mine is simple. Gosh darn it. What am I doing here? There we go. On-campus home games for the first round. To me, this is the pro of all pros when it comes to the college football playoff, because I understand how things are going to work. In that first round, the top 4 seeds amongst those last 8 that play in the first round, they will get home games. And if all those teams are up north and the other 4 are from down south, those guys are actually going to have to play north of the Mason-Dixon line, which gives a little bit of an advantage, in my opinion, to the northern teams. Hey, do you think LSU really wants to come to Lincoln, Nebraska if we happen to be like the 8th seed or something like that and play us? I don't think so. I don't think it would do them a whole lot of good to get beat up in sub-zero temperatures. So home games for the higher seeded teams in the first round, I absolutely love. So that's my pro. And yeah, I forgot to put on the timer. I think I'm okay though. So anyway, why don't we move on to the cons? This was the one that was, I think, maybe a little bit more difficult for some of us, easy for others. Derek, we're going to kick it off with you. So there we go. How in the hell did I end up second? I shouldn't be second. Oop, there we go. See, I just love StreamYard, and I know I'm confusing the daylights out of our viewers. Sorry about that, but it's Tuesday. You don't care because it's Tuesday. It's not Monday. Anyway, go ahead, Derek. Why don't you give us your con for how in the hell did that happen? There we go. There you go.
There we go.
Bad.
Look, I bunched Tyler into all these naysayers here because there's a few of them out there. He's not the only one, but listen to these people bitch about how, we should never went to the 12-team playoff, and you're seeing these blowouts and all this and that. Man, come on. It's more football. And if you're complaining about more football, I just don't know what to tell you. Because I love this. I don't have a lot of cons because I think it's awesome. I've been advocating for a 12-team playoff since we were in the BCS era. Or maybe not 12-team, but at least a playoff.
8-team. You were big on 8-team.
8-team. I could have done 16. I think 12 is kind of an odd number, but I can live with it. It's at least a playoff. It's an actual playoff. And every sport out there has some kind of playoff except for college football FBS. That is the only sport that doesn't have a playoff. And it's finally time that they catch up.
All righty. You are up, Tyler. What say you? What's your con?
So I think the college football playoff, you look at the evolution of college football, we went from the old bowl system to the BCS. And I think that was definitely making sure 1 and 2 got played. And then I think people realize, hey, there are times that there's a really good third team. And man, you can't pick it out. So I think they went to address that with the 4th. I don't know who's advocating that the 11th team in the country needs a shot at the national title. And all I see is this is a con, and that there wasn't a problem this is addressing. This is a money grab. That is what this is. And that's all this is going to do because this isn't actually fixing a problem. And the best analogy I have for this is if you go to a steakhouse, college football to me is a medium rare New York strip that's delicious. You guys want to put A1 steak sauce on that. So that's what I'm going to call you guys now. I'm going to call you A1 and steak sauce, Justin and Derek. Because that's what you want to do. You want to ruin a perfectly good steak. A1's fine, but it's good the way it is. Don't fuck with it.
And there's a bleep I have to add. Thank you. Just kidding. Okay. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate your input. I really do. Not that it matters. We're just 5 blowhards who like to sit on StreamYard and think we know stuff, right? Next up, I think we have Mr. Scott. Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess the only con I could come up with, because I was the last person to do all my notes, so I really had to reach to the bottom of the barrel of potential complaints or pros or whatever. I guess there's still a likelihood that we'll see 3 to 4 SEC, maybe even 5 SEC teams somehow scrape into the top 12 because the SEC bias isn't going to go away. It's just going to expand. And I guess I wrote down with 2 in the top 4, the way that it's looking like it's going to end up being, I don't think that that's all that remotely possible with conference champions, but I wouldn't put it past them until we see it come to fruition. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to all lay out, but it's just going to be another expansion of the SEC bias. I would not be surprised if we see, 3-4 loss SEC teams, scraping in there. It's just what's going to be.
Alrighty. Well, my con for the 12-team playoff is the fact that the top 4 teams get to have a bye, and I hate that. That's why I've always been either 8 or 16, or hell, if we're going to do a money grab, let's do a money grab reel and go up to 32. So when the top 4 teams get a bye in the first round, God only knows, chances are freaking 2 of them will be the SEC anyway. So they'll have a better chance at playing in a friendly environment should they get out of the second round and into the semifinals and the finals. So top 4 teams get a bye in the first round. I just freaking hate it. Go to 16, make everybody play every single round of the playoff and see who actually earns it. That's my take. That is my only con for the 12-team playoff. And Mr. Justin, you are up next. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, my con is I don't think there are any cons of expanding the playoff to 12. It's only having to listen to Tyler bitch every time that there's a blowout in one of these games. Anytime that, a 12 seed gets blown out, by 40, because blowouts are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler's like, see, they didn't deserve to be in there, and I'm just going to have to hear all of this complaints. But I don't know why you would be opposed to meaningful football late in the football season. Everybody loves college football. That's why we do a podcast, right? And you're wanting to complain about meaningful football.
You'll get a chance, Tyler, just a
on
sec.
the line at the end of the season. It's just insane. I got 10 seconds left, so I'm just going to bag on Tyler more. Tyler, your A1 sauce thing is freaking stupid as shit.
All
you
right.
see that because you put the steak sauce on your steak.
Okay.
To be fair, Tyler's been bragging about this analogy for like 2 weeks now.
That
Yes,
is the
he
most
has.
garbage
It was weak,
analogy
too.
I've ever
It was
heard.
weak. He
It's
built
an
it up to something that
analology
it's
at this
not.
point.
It was weak sauce. A1 sauce.
He did
You
all right.
guys say this is because you're the steak sauce, but you're like, oh, I don't want a good steak.
Oh,
Like,
I don't want good
no,
football at the
you
end of the
want-
season.
Fuck
Put
you.
the
I
steak
know my
sauce on it.
steaks. I know what a great steak is like. And a great
Yeah.
steak is a 16-team playoff.
It's all going to
No,
come out of the
no,
shitter anyway. Who cares?
So we are now actively in the open forum section of the
If you couldn't
podcast
tell.
where we can actually respond to what everybody has said so far. So yeah, it's free for all. I'm not going to call on anybody. If y'all want to argue, if y'all want to
Alright.
point out things you actually agreed with, which you know what, there's nothing
Let's
wrong
start
with
with
that.
that. Let's start with agreement.
Oh.
So then we can just then we can really
I agree with Justin.
get all warm and fuzzy first.
I liked what Justin said for his group of 5 representation. And Justin, to be honest with you, that was one of the first things that hit my head when I was first looking at the 12-team playoff. But I really liked the idea of the home games more. But close second for me was actually the group of 5 representation. So that was excellent that you came up with that one. I was surprised some of the other yodels on here didn't come up with that. But
Well, it's just
anyway.
you see it every single year. There's teams into the group of 5, they get shafted, and some years,
Right.
you know what, they probably don't deserve a chance, right? But you know what, if they're going to play in FBS football where there is a playoff at the end, include them. Don't exclude them. Include them.
Right.
If
So why
reward
don't you
them
want to
for
include
winning
an
a conference
FCS team?
title.
Why don't
What's
you want to
that?
include FCS teams in there? They play division.
Because they
play-
have their own playoff, Tyler. I don't know.
Well,
if
you can
pay
have
attention.
you can have FCS teams, like the best FCS team gets in too. Why not? Or D2. Let's put some
You know what?
D2
You could
teams in.
make an
I-
argument that a North Dakota State or a South Dakota State would give just about anybody a game.
I think Saint
Well,
Cecilia.
I think
deserves a
that
shot,
goes
to be
with
honest.
I think
let's
that
put
goes
them
with,
in.
Way to
with
plug
Dad,
San
like-
Cecilia.
I agree with my dad. I think I don't like that there's a top 4 gets a bye kind of structure. I really agree with my dad. I think it should have at least been an 8-team, if not a 16-team. If not, yeah, go balls deep, make it 32 teams. Who cares? And I mean, that could be, hey, Tyler, there you go. Throw the FCS team down at the bottom seat of a 32-team playoff. Like, why the hell
I'm
not?
waiting for the
If
120.
you're
I
grabbing
think
money,
that's
you
what
might
we
as well
need.
grab money from every part of the country.
That's what I think.
Well, the only reason the NCAA still exists is because of the NCAA basketball tournament. Without that
Yeah.
tournament, the NCAA has absolutely no
If they're
freaking
going to
reason
90
to
teams,
exist
I
on
think
this
college
planet.
Football can follow. Why
Tyler,
not go to 90
you
teams?
saying this ludicrous shit like this, like saying FCS, D2, St. Cecilia,
Why not?
and like 90 teams, this does not help your argument at all. If you're being that
Well,
sarcastic,
it's more
about
football.
it.
That's your argument. It's more football. Like that's all I'm hearing is that
Okay,
hey, it's more
you know what?
meaningful football.
You know what I don't ever want to hear from you, Tyler?
Huh.
When there's an upset from one of these group of 5 schools, I don't ever want to hear you root for them because they don't deserve a shot to be there in the first place.
There will be. In a perfect example this year
Okay,
was TCU
you're right.
beating-
There will be. Don't root for them.
Sure, TCU beating
They
Michigan.
shouldn't be there.
TCU beating Michigan was a prime example. TCU had no business being in that game if like for competing for a national championship at that point. Like they lost their own conference championship. Like they get in and they get 2 fortunate plays inside the 5-yard line, 2 pick sixes, all the breaks in a football game.
Which is all the
And
more
a team
reason
that
why
was
these
more
conference championships
deserving
need to
all
mean
year.
something.
All year, Michigan was more deserving to play for a national championship, and they don't because of a fluky game in a playoff.
So you're penalizing TCU for winning a game by making plays when they had to.
But it's negating the games that led up to it. Because
You know what, Tyler, by your standard, maybe we shouldn't have any postseason. Maybe you should just tag the most deserving team at the end of the season because that's what you want. You don't want any fluke. You don't want anything to be settled on the field. You want this fluke shit to be eliminated, just like the best team.
Sure, he does, as long as it's pro football.
Sure, I'm all for I'm all for if in a perfect world you'd let Tyler say, based off the year, we're going to design the postseason format. Is it a 2-team? Is it a 4-team? Is it a 6-team? Like something like that. Like, you know what I will never say? Let's have a 12-team because that 11th ranked team really deserves a shot. Like that's not going to happen because they will have 3 losses.
I'll agree that I don't necessarily love the 12 team. I'd rather see 16 or 8,
Sure.
whatever.
I
will admit that. I will admit that. But the whole being bothered by the top 4 teams getting buys is odd to me. I think because I think they deserve it. Like if you're going to be a conference champion and in the top and out of the top 4 ranked champions, you deserve a little break there.
Yeah,
it
gives you something to compete for.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes the conference championships mean something again. Because now you actually have to win that game, and if you don't win that game, you're not TCU sitting there at a fucking 3 seed. Sorry,
you're good. You're good, dude. I'm not gonna edit anything. I was just messing.
It blows me away that we could sit here and talk about teams losing a conference championship game and still making a playoff and being a top seed. I can handle if they're going to make top seed. Look here, if they're going to make the playoff. Look, everybody's like, "Well, Alabama's automatically going to get in there." Well, if they're not one of the best teams and they don't deserve to be in there, you shouldn't be worried about it because they're going to get beat anyway. So what are you so worried about?
But the thing is, though,
and
Derek,
if they do go on a run and end up winning it, then they were probably the best team and they probably deserve to be in there.
But then it negates the fact that they blew it against LSU earlier this year. And that's one, and to me, that's the thing was, and go back to my analogy. The thing about college football that has made it so great is that every Saturday just always felt like life or death. It was like you lose, it's
but
done.
there was always this thing about college football that didn't make sense. And it was not having a playoff. Like it didn't make sense. I mean, every division of football, every division, no matter what division you look at, whether it be FCS, Division III, pro football, everywhere you look, there's
high
a
school
playoff.
football.
High school football.
But
High school football has a playoff.
But college football,
and college football and FBS was just sitting here going, "Yeah, let's go to the Peach Bowl and have fun yanking each other's dicks here." I mean, come on.
I would argue that college sports.
Let's make it mean something.
But I would argue Division I college sports in general postseason just doesn't make sense. March Madness doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to have 65 teams in a sport that's so fluky now going to 90 teams.
It's 68, by the way.
Okay, but they're going to 90, so that's where we're going on that. And then
it also
maybe Nebraska will finally win one.
It also takes care of a little bit of some of the players sitting out because I don't think there's going to be a lot of players wanting to sit out a playoff game. Maybe if it's a guy that wasn't going to play much anyway or was hurt before the playoff game, maybe you'll see him sit out. But the odds of this 5-star quarterback that was going to go pro no matter what, he's not going to sit out that game. He wants to go to a championship game.
The sitting out thing is it's a semi concern. I was trying to look up how many players sat out of bowl games, and I couldn't find a stat on that. But I feel like people make that to be a huge deal where it's like, man, all these guys are sitting. I know we're going to talk about bowls later, and I don't know if it's that like epic of a epidemic in college football.
There's
bowls.
a lot of, I mean, look at Coastal Carolina.
Like I just don't know. I couldn't find a stat on it. Like I started to try to count games and try to like look up the matchups and see sit outs, but it was really foggy on that like stats, and like a lot of the I spent about 7 of them and none of them mentioned players sitting out. And I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure someone had to sit out. Like, so it's really hard to pull like a data point to see how big this
well,
is.
You certainly heard about more of them once the playoff kicked in. I know I don't remember really hearing hardly ever about anybody sitting out like the Christian McCaffreys of the world.
He's the one that
or
started
half of Purdue's team that are probably going to get. I mean, that game was just god awful with LSU. They didn't have anybody good in the game.
Here's the thing: as much as I hate it, I don't blame these kids for not wanting to risk themselves millions of dollars. And I think it goes further back to that. I think it goes back to Willis McGay, who played in that game and tore his ACL in that final game. I think there was a lot of kids after that were just like, I don't want to risk it for just a bowl game.
Right.
Can you mention it though? And I think that's one of my last things I want to say. It's like I have always really enjoyed bowl season. And since college football playoff has come around, the 4-team, it has definitely taken some of the shine away from bowl games. And a 12-team is just – you disagree? You just said it.
No, I agree. I agree.
But the 12-team is just going to put the nail in the coffin for the bowls, because you're not going to get the USCs in a bowl game. They're going to be in the playoff, and you're not going to get the Rose Bowl, the pageantry of that old Rose Bowl game of the Big Ten. That stuff is going to be done.
Yep.
So
that's
having,
for the next. That's for
having
the next
Tulane
discussion.
and USC have something on the line in that game.
But wasn't that a fun game? Like, why do you need to mess with the national championship picture? That was a fun game on its own.
Because I would kind of like to see what Tulane could do in the next round.
Exactly. I agree.
We'd love to see what Tulane could do against somebody like TCU.
Maybe they get blown out by the next team, but god dang, it would have been a fun story if they could have kept winning.
Why?
But they probably wouldn't have.
Who did you pick in that game?
They probably shouldn't have been beating USC.
I picked Tulane, Justin. So
you did not.
Yes, I did.
You got lies.
You want to see my betting slip?
Yes.
Well,
I'll go pull my back up.
This was definitely a fun discussion. I know you guys talked about a lot of this on your last episode, and I found it highly entertaining. I thought you did a great job breaking down the new coaches and all that good stuff. But as far as finishing up this discussion and moving on to next Tuesday's discussion, guys, where can folks find you guys on the interwebs?
You can find us on Twitter at Husker Cuz Cast. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us individually. Me and Derek, we have our Twitter handles right there in our on screen. Tyler, well, for the audio listeners, at Cuzcast Justin, at Cuzcast Derek, and then Tyler is at Shafe Mania.
Nobody wants to follow Tyler. It's all right. Not after these takes. Everyone's going, fuck, I ain't following that guy.
I do want anyone who likes college football, please follow me. If you want steak sauce on your steak, follow Justin and Derek. That's basically what we've learned.
I think you're in the minority, Tyler. I seriously think you're in the minority for college football expansion.
And A1 stays in business for a reason there, Tyler.
Yeah, because a lot of idiots out there like to destroy their steak. Anyway, as far as us, you can follow us at GenRedPod on Twitter and Facebook, as well as YouTube, and then subscribe to the audio podcast by searching for Generation Red on your favorite podcast app. And you can also find Scott on Twitter, right?
Yep, you can find me at Scott GenRedPod. That's Scott with 2 T's. The second T is silent. You can check me out over there. I just do all sorts of weird stuff and post, non-football related things sometimes, but for the most part, it's all just memes and good vibes. So follow me over there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, the next time you see our pretty little faces, it will be at 7 p.m. next Tuesday, where we will be talking specifically about the non-playoff bowl games. and giving you some pros and cons on that as well. Tyler gave you a little bit of a hint of what's up ahead, and it should be another interesting discussion. We appreciate you watching tonight. Scott and I, we're Generation Red. Justin, Derek, and Tyler, they're the Husker Cuz Cast. Together, we are the Big Red Roundtable, and we're here to remind you every single time we get together that Iowa's corn still really sucks, and there's no place like Nebraska. Damn it, Scott, I took your line. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did, and I had a really good, funny thing loaded up. So I'll
Well, as
say
long as it didn't include camel genitalia, I'll be happy.
no. It was something about gangrene toes.
Well, anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.